Leaders, good day, the Khosi, the CPA, merafi yotle, dumelang lotle. I want to make the following submission today, and I enjoin of you to send this message across South Africa to every tribe, merafi o mong le o mongwe, to every king and every Khosi. I want to say the following statement. Number one, I don't think the South African National Defence Force should salute the President, Cyril Ramaphosa. And I'll give my reasons why. I don't think we ought to attend any meetings Cyril Ramaphosa is inviting us to attend. Number one, Cyril Ramaphosa stole the land from a tribe, and not only that, many other lands that were supposed to be restituted. So the president is violating the Restitution Act, Dolo Malo, Dolos Directors, and Dollars Eventualis as a state president. So the president is a lawbreaker. He's contravening the law of South Africa. What is he if you violate the law and you are a president? Now, a lawbreaker. In fact, I want to say the following statement to you all. Anymore. Re Batswana rona ga re tselwe lefase. Na re tlo laolwa le Vendale le re tsela mafatshe. These are tribal lands, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, nele di ANC cater tsa bona ba re tsela di tribal land. Now ke batla a complete revolution against these corrupt acts. Complete revolution. We must not obey Cyril Ramaphosa. We must not obey his captured and corrupt government. We must determine our own future and our own self-development as indigenous natives, and that is international law. Regards to obey a criminal syndicate, a mafia. Monna o go tin Cyril Ramaphosa o. Santla o maina mafatshe a merafi to enrich himself. Merafi ke badidi today. They are poor. They live in abject poverty because of so-called leaders like himself. And the Khosi re ke bueng le lona ka re le kgaetse. Ka re le kgaetse. A ke itse gore le ditlaela or ga le bone gore what's really happening in this nation. Ba le fa koloinyana, a working tool, le so-called stipend, and they have captured you. What kind of a king are you to be controlled by puppets of the Western world? Ramaphosa, first of all, was not selected by the people of this country. He was selected by white people, and he was sponsored by white people. Then his name was placed on the ANC roll. The foolish people within the ANC appointed him a president. But baba mo lefatsheng la rona ba ne ba sa itse sepe gore Cyril Ramaphosa was appointed by white people to be a president, voted for him, thus making him a president. We have a document, puppet on the strings. It shows who the president really is. The president betrayed this nation. He is not, in my view, and in my considered view, having seen that document, he cannot be considered a president of this nation. It was very wrong for South Africa gore le motshepe. You trusted a mafia, one who's responsible for state treason, state sabotage, state paralysis, and state capture. And by the way, he admitted to state capture before Raymond Zondo at the Commission of Inquiry into state capture as one, an ANC president. Number two, he admitted to state capture as a president of the country. Now, we cannot live a lie anymore. We cannot live a life of capture. Magodu a ANC ba utswitse the tribal land. Throughout the course of South Africa, tribes are suffering, the Khosi are suffering, and people in those tribes, they are without land. Mafatshe a bobona a mainiwa ke the foreigners, the Chinese, the Russians, the Arabs, the Jews. Everyone is looting the minerals tsa lefatshe la bo rona. We, the indigenous natives of this land, they are making themselves rich from our lands. Rona, we must live in abject and continued poverty. Bagaitso, selo se se hloka go enda. It must stop. We cannot be led by mafias, mineral mafias, land mafias, corrupt presidents. The Khosi must rethink themselves. What are you? Why do you allow these ANC cadres to capture you so easily? And this is the reason why Merafi is a little tlhompi. They don't give you respect because you are useless. You have been captured by some little car and some so-called stipends. Now and then, some of you, I am told that you are even spies of Ramaphosa. You are working for Ramaphosa to betray the tribes. Merafi alone, your own people. You like it when Ramaphosa shakes your hand, when he smiles to you with a big nose. I don't know what kind of leaders are you, Lona de Khosi. See, I spoke to some of the Khosi Tedi. They informed me that among you are puppets of Cyril Ramaphosa and of the ANC. You cannot be trusted to lead your own people. Instead of protecting lefatshe la morafe wa gago, le tshwantseng le busiwe lo o protect ANC le magodu a ANC a utswang lefatshe la morafe. So you are betraying. You want to tell me that it's so important for you to betray your tribe, your nation, because of levenda la mushimanyana? No. Something is very wrong with your mind, the Khosi. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I want you to think deeply about what I'm saying. Liruta wana ba lona ba basimane and le banyana as the Khosi, because you are teaching a bloodline, right? Royalty to obey corrupt people, to obey mafias, to obey the shady. What's wrong with you as the Khosi? Don't you understand, as royalty, you ought not to be associated with such people? You must be upright. People of integrity, great integrity, by the way. Cyril Ramaphosa is a money launderer. That one is a fact. In fact, if I recall very well, there was an investigation and recommendations were made ka tšhelete a ikipileng ko phalaphala, the American dollars that were not declared. So he's using tribal lands to store money that is laundered into the country. He's using tribal land to store his dirty monies. Tribal lands. Moshimane wa movenda o tletse lenyatso, and mavenda ga ile gore le tletse lenyatso, so it's time for us to also oppose you. We will oppose you the same way as we oppose Cyril. Let us not dira jana anymore. You see, this country is also ours. Ke a rona country. Now dikgosi mpoleleng gore go tla jang gore ebe ka jeko le captured the way that you are, and you are royalty. You've got royal blood mo go lona. I am told today, in fact not today, yesterday, because I was in a meeting right now, KD5, because of time, ke lebeletse ya re 01:28 a.m. Yesterday at 4 on the 4th of January 2024, I met the Director General Ramaphosa wa the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, and he said to me, look, I wanted to see you. I'm sent by the Minister Thoko Didiza. I'm on leave, but he said to me, I must come and see you, and she's the only one who knows that I'm here to see you. And can you please talk to me about issue ya lefatshe la gago, ke tla le busa. Right? Ke kopa gore as a belief stop re bone gore re tla go thusa jang o kry lefatshe la morafe ga, and I showed him information that the department, the then Department of Land Affairs, wrote a memorandum. In it they said lefatshe la rona is 368 kilometers in diameter, plus minus 368 kilometers in diameter. And I also showed him a court judgment where, in fact, after reading that, he said there is no need anymore for us to go any further because we admitted to the validity of the land claim. And he said to me, as a belief, Emma, like in the next 2 weeks, now we have members of the ANC, we have members of the so-called what? Mkondo, right? Who have taken pieces of our tribal land. They have stolen our tribal land. I'm talking about these political people. So my tribal people must suffer, whereas these thieves mine their minerals to make themselves rich. And I said to him, look, Ramaphosa, I want to know what really happened here. Why le paletso ke go depose an affidavit ko the Commission of Inquiry, le expose the corruption of these ANC cadres and the like. And he said to me, say, I want to tell you that Minister Gwede, the former minister, deposed an affidavit, and many others within the department whom I know, and that we were supposed to have been invited, having submitted those affidavits before Zondo to give evidence against the corruption that's going on. And he said to me, Ramaphosa, I don't know why we were not called. Now this tells me that the judge, the current judge, the so-called Chief Justice Raymond Zondo concealed evidence that was written and deposed in the form of affidavits called the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. I'm talking about a judge, the highest judge in South Africa, concealed that evidence. ANC cadres are looting the lands. Not only them, including judges and magistrates. So Zondo and the judiciary, they are not independent, they are not impartial, they are thieves and concealers of criminal activities. They violate the law of South Africa. Zondo, as a chief justice, ought not to be a chief justice. You see, after hearing this information today, I'm not filled with indignation. I now understand that I cannot call Raymond Zondo a chief justice because he received evidence before him of lands that were involved in state capture and records that were deposed before him. He chose for actually the Commission of Inquiry before its time. Now, he is not fit, in my considered view, for a chief justice, because that evidence was led and he was supposed to have made that information public. In fact, it's not even in his recommendation. Ga tsenya kanya mafatshe le godu le gotweng ke Zondo le bone gore members of the ANC must not be implicated when it comes to mafatshe. Ka jeko tribiwa ka dikoloi tsa puso, right? O patelwa salary a sa tshwanang go e patela. He's not fit for that position. Now wa appointilwe ke mang? Cyril Ramaphosa. Antse a itse gore o fitlhile evidence e tlo mo implicatang le ene gore o mo lefatsheng la sa tshwanang ke gore a le kreye Cyril Ramaphosa. Zondo bone gore a fitlhe information eo. Ba bang ba lona le re Zondo what? So tlo re bolela ka le Zulu la judge le covering information ya mofuta o. He's disrespectful too. Ko le bolela lotlhe mo South Africa when you are corrupt. Na ke go tsabeni. Who are you? Re tsontsere go tsabe. Ga o modimo, you are not God. Now Ramasodi Ntetsa re as a department, evidence was submitted there. Ka capture ya the state, but within the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform. Zondo bone gore a fitlhe bopaki bo. A so-called chief justice. By then he was not a chief justice. He was an acting. Alright? No, not an acting, a deputy chief justice. Yaga mogwe. Now, government cannot be led by a money launderer, a tribal land thief, a liar, and a killer of the Marikana people. He was involved in the sanctioning Yasipodisa to go shoot those people that were massacred at Marikana. In my view, and this is my considered view, the South African National Defence Force ought, under the law and under the constitution, to arrest the president for treason, for violation of the constitution, and for all other unlawful and unconstitutional acts that he is involved in. We don't have a president. The Khosi must choose between your tribes and the ANC that has captured you. You must choose. You cannot sleep with the devil and lead Morafi. You must choose. The Khosi must revolt against the ANC as they have done against the apartheid government. What I understood from the meeting Yakale Ramasodi today showed me that judges are not independent, they are not impartial, and therefore they cannot be trusted. Because that evidence or those affidavits were placed before the Commission of Inquiry into state capture, and they ought to have been televised. The Balweki Minister Nkwinti and those that were involved to expose the corruption. I want this record to be given to magistrates, attorneys, lawyers, including Zondo himself. You see, I now understand what's happening, because Zondo hid concealed evidence that implicates land thieves. Nkwinti must come out and tell us, or in fact give us copies of those affidavits and those government officials who equally deposed affidavits. He decided to close the Commission of Inquiry rather than extending its lifespan. We need to know all those land thieves. This shows that the judiciary is rotten and should not be obeyed. Should not be obeyed. In my view, in fact, the military, and I'm talking about an independent military, ought to arrest these judges and put them in a prison, because they are not independent. I think it's about time that we teach merafe ya rona rotlhe gore ga re tlhoke Cyril Ramaphosa. And by the way, some of you think that he gave you those 350 rands go le thusa go reka dijo. In fact, he was never going to give you those 350 rands. I wrote to them gore ba lefe 3,500 rands. They did not do that. Instead, ba lefile 350. He was never going to give you that money. So don't call him a savior. He didn't save you. In fact, the majority of you, batsadi ba lona ba sule, ba suffer from heart palpitation ka gore Cyril Ramaphosa ba re tsare ba ilo injecta the COVID vaccines ba sule di dira di blood clots, right? Now, some of you today batsadi ba lona ba na le stroke, ba sufferile stroke because ba injectilwe ka di vaccine tseo tse di causang blood clots. In essence, I'm saying the president is responsible for poisoning the nation and for recommending that you go and inject yourself. Ka selo se se bolayang, se se rurisang pelo, se dira heart palpitation, ebile se dira di blood clots. Some of you le ne le kgona support-a bana sentle. Today you are no longer supporting your children. Le tshwere ke stroke because le injected. You no longer survive. La struggle. Right? Bana ba lona ke bona ba le tlhokometseng ka jeko. Ebile some of you, your own families have abandoned you. Your husbands, you have lost your marriage since le tlhabiwa ka di injections tseo le na le di blood clots le tshwarwa ke stroke. You have lost your own families and marriages. You have lost your children. You have lost your income. Ke mang a le retseng a re lo tlhaba selo seo se re Ramaphosa. So let's tlo mpolella ka one vendor boy man. Shumana le vendor o re nyatsa. We cannot be undermined anymore. And of course, Yama vendor, you must start standing up. You need to correct this mess. You need to correct this mess. We are not at qualms with you as a vendor people, but you must start talking to this rubbish. He cannot be trusted anymore. We cannot assassinate and destroy this nation. Ka tsela a dirang ka yona. We cannot. Se Cyril a se dirang bagaetsho, my black people, is very wrong. It's not like he doesn't know about the fact that Zondo was not the proper person. Now it's or Zondo is not proper. Even na itiga the judicial corruption. Mare o decidile gore a tswelle pele ka Zondo. There is no court in South Africa e kileng ya tsamaya bitsa Cyril Ramaphosa gore a countele the money eo ya phalaphala. Government officials have failed to file a case against Ramaphosa. But ba khonne go e file ka Zoom. Isn't it? So what's really happening here? Simply because he's a billionaire, he's untouchable. Baka itse ka tlo laolwa ke moshimano. Moshimano o re betrayile ko Codesa. Ba saena constitution e seng ya rona ebile e kwetswe ke ba sweu. Ba e saena ba e impose on the tribes. Mo bathong ba bantsho. O re betrayile. Right? He's a sellout. He's a sellout. A full-blown sellout. Ya no mpotso ya ka ke gore mogolo. When are you going to start opening your real eyes? As South Africa. Ga le bone gore go lofa re phela re bolellwa maka. All this that these ANC presidents do is just to stand up on a platform, lie, and the foolish ba phapata matso. Motho go bolela maka o fetsa mo phapatela matso. The president spoke. Oh, na bua maka. O enjoy maka. How enjoy reality? Ga o bone gore batho ba sokola ka joko. They don't have food. They don't have their lands. They don't have food. They are struggling to survive. They are not well able to take care of their children. Whereas Cyril Ramaphosa is going around Le Patrice Motsepe, his so-called phobe, right? Because banyalelan. right? Mining mafatshe a merafe, making themselves rich, filthy rich, by the way. They are billionaires together ka mafatshe a merafe. They've been looting the minerals tsa merafe. Now not only them, there are many others in this mafia ya bona who work together with them, including Gwede Mantashe, including Minister Thoko Didiza. Now ke batla gore re lebelle gore the law breakers cannot lead us. These are law breakers, bagaetso. In conclusion, I'm saying we don't need ANC. Re batla lefatshe la rona. Mafatshe a otlhe ya a merafe yo yotlhe must be returned to indigenous black people. Ga se ya the white Afrikaners, ga se ya the foreigners ba ba tletseng mo lefatsheng le ba re tseela lefatshe. What happens with these so-called foreigners ke gore ba tla fa ba tlo go investa ba partnera le these ANC cadres. That's why ba ba fa lefatshe. Paul Mashatile is part of those. Paul Mashatile, the so-called deputy president. Jaanong we must stand up. Ga re tlo tlhola re captureiwa anymore ke ditlaela le forwa ke batho ba re ba re they are leaders. They are not leaders. They are crooks. They are criminals. They are sellouts. They are betrayers of the black people, the black indigenous natives of this land, whose rights in land were violated, right? And they must be treated as such. They are violators of the Constitution of South Africa. And we must start writing a new constitution, bagaetso. We must start developing one. Introduce. We don't need this piece of paper a white person I impose because of Cyril Ramaphosa and Mandela and others in the ANC who did that nonsense. Haraba for the power to sign that piece of document on the behalf of tribes. We were not consulted. And therefore it's not binding on us. It's not binding, I say, because it was signed by these crooks who today have the cards ya go utswa mafatshe le di minerals tsa merafe. Now dikgosi, I'm still talking to you. Ke batla lona le bana ba lona, go sit down and talk. We cannot be led by cowards. We cannot be led. Ha ile gore le lona le magwala is dikgosi, you must talk. Merafe e le yona e bue ge gore ga e tlhoke magwala. Le etswe mo, you must stop leading until we have the real leaders. Until we have real leaders. That's why I'm saying if I was a president, tomorrow I was going to release the army and I was going to ensure that all those that contravened the law are brought to Robben Island. Ke tlatse Robben Island teo ka magodu a mafatshe and rewrite the constitution. Ke tsenye le di-judge le di-magistrata tse di leng gore di mo strategic pieces of land tse ba di acquiring through these ANC cadres ba ba leng gore ba ka fo teng ga puso. There are judges and magistrates who are on those pieces of land that were supposed to have long been restituted. So a tlo re bolela ka di-judge ga di phele go le godimong, di phela mo mafatsheng a utswitsweng a merafe. We cannot trust all these people. Nako ya go trust bagaetso of blind trust is over. Some of these judges pila ba tlhoka ke gore ba loadiwe into some military vans ka di-court rope tsa bona ba latlhelwe inside Robben Island ba fiwe dijoko for violating the law, including Zondo himself. Una sa tshwanna ke gore a tswale the commission of inquiry into state capture. In fact, he was supposed to recuse himself. Now o bone gore go tshwarwe Jacob Zuma inele a tsenywa mo tronko, whereas state capture was far deeper than Jacob Zuma. Se Zondo a se dirileng is a betrayal to the constitution, utter betrayal. That's why the people of South Africa should not obey these judges. They are not God. They are equally involved in acts of treason. Le bona ba tshwana le magodu, because ba mo mafatsheng a merafi e tshwantseng e boele merafi. Ore bolella eng? Cannot call yourself a judge. You are not a person of integrity. Mafatshe a merafi a boela merafi. Cannot steal black indigenous people's lands. That you want to be called a judge. What type of a judge are you?